Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and boy, we have a lot of great guests for us, for you today. And the first of which is a gentleman I think you're going to hear a lot about in the years to come and in the days to come. Bob McNeil's with us today. He's the founder of the American Citizens Party. Now, we're going to learn more about that, and he is a candidate for President of the United States in 2016. Bob is a professional business consultant with an accounting degree and over 35 years of experience in auditing multi-billion-dollar corporations here in the United States, as well as a number of other countries around the world. He is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps from 1968 to 1974. Bob, nice to have you with us today. How are you doing, my friend?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Okay. Hey, first of all, I need to clear up something. When we hear the word audit, in today's headlines, we're automatically thinking IRS. You want to clear that up?
Yes, I am not an IRS auditor. I perform audits of corporations and attempt to help them be more profitable and operate more efficiently. So I have nothing to do with taxes other than that I oppose them.
Yeah.
But no, I work on behalf of corporations.
Right. Good. A little tongue-in-cheek, but I did want you to clear it up, especially with the heated hearings going on in Washington these days.
Of course, I understand.
Tell us about the American Citizens Party.
Well, I actually formed this party back in 2009, and it came about as a result of my frustration with both the Democrats and Republicans. I just don't feel like they're working on the people's behalf. And so, having the skills that I have, that I've acquired over the last 35 years, I sat down and instead of yelling and screaming at the TV like most people do, I said, well, really, what would I do and what kind of plan would I write to restore our freedoms and prosperity that have been taken from us? And so I set about the plan to do that, and it took about a year to do that. That was 2007.
Wow.
So I emerged in 2008 with the plan, and I've been talking to people about it ever since, everywhere I go.
Are you getting established now in all 50 states?
Not yet. I hope to, and that's why I'm starting early. I have to be on the ballot in all 50 states in 2016, or this just isn't going to happen. So that's the purpose of these interviews, and I appreciate you helping me out with that.
You bet. Okay. Well, let's just do a quick run through some of the sensitive topics, and then I'll come back and have you comment more deeply on the social issues. Where are you with abortion?
I stand firmly on the side of the innocent babies. I think the women should have more personal responsibility. That's one of the principles under which I formed the American Citizens Party. I think women should actually think about what they're doing before they go on a date or go to a bar or this kind of thing. I think we can eliminate a lot of the problems if people would just be more responsible.
Where are you with same-sex marriages?
I believe in traditional marriage. I believe marriage is a union between one human male and one human female.
Okay.
That's where I stand on that.
Gun control, Second Amendment.
I am a firm supporter of the Second Amendment.
All right. And can you describe, how'd I say this a little bit tongue-in-cheek because it's also very serious, do you have any idea what our foreign policy is today?
Well, I know what it has been, and that's to interfere in the operations of other countries around the world for somewhat reasons that are unclear to me. So my goal as president would be to focus on the national security of the United States and ensure that we live under the freedom and prosperity that the founders intended, and stay out of other people's business, basically, unless they pose a direct threat to us. Let's focus on America.
All right, Bob, the big thing also is the economy, and in particular our debt. We've seen this thing go to $16 trillion on its way to $17 trillion, with the current administration saying, well, we don't have a spending problem. We're in a mess, and I don't know if we can recover. Some say we can. What's your thinking about that?
Well, I believe we can. I wouldn't run for president if I didn't think we could. Mm-hmm. And that is specifically what I plan to do. I believe that we lost our freedom over 100 years ago with the passage of the corporate income tax in 1909 and the federal income tax in 1913. And no person who was born after that, has lived at the level of freedom that our founding fathers intended. What my plan does is on Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2017, I sign a document that I wrote. It's only one page long. It's called a Proclamation of Freedom. And what that does is that I use the power of the Article 2, Section 2 presidential pardon to issue a blanket pardon to all Americans to say from that moment forward, we're going to have a tax revolt against Congress. We're going to return $2.7 trillion back to the pockets of the American people to stimulate our economy from the bottom up, not the top down, which hasn't been working. And I'm going to pardon every person who chooses to participate in that revolution.
Wow. All right. We're watching these hearings on Capitol Hill concerning the IRS, not to mention Benghazi, but let's stick with the IRS for a moment. We now see these abuses. They are appearing to go all the way to the White House. And there is even some movement in the Senate and in the House to abolish the IRS and go to more of a flat tax or a simple tax. What's your thinking on that?
Well, I don't. Actually, I have some problems with both the fair tax and the flat tax. Both have constitutional issues, and neither one of them actually solve the problems when it comes to the government's interference and into our personal affairs. The flat tax still requires that we fill out a form and we tell the government how much we owe, and there needs to be an enforcement mechanism for those who misreport, and it still keeps in place the bureaucracy of the IRS. Who's going to receive all these one-page tax returns, and who's going to enforce those, and who's going to verify our income? So the flat tax doesn't solve the problem. The fair tax has its own issues, and that is it grants expansive new powers to the federal government to interfere in all the consumer transactions throughout the United States of America. And those are brand new powers that have never been granted to the federal government before. So what I propose is this, is we don't need to pass any new tax laws. What we need to do is eliminate our current tax law and just revert back to the original taxing clauses in Article 1, Section 8 and Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, which are indirect and direct taxes. That's how the founders intended for our government to be funded.
Did you calculate that out? I mean, does that fund the government? I mean, I realize we've got some entitlement issues and all that, but does that produce enough revenue to keep this thing going?
It doesn't produce enough revenue to keep our current government going. We have a $4 trillion budget, and we need. What I did was I calculated based on the constitutional authority of the federal government, and those are set out in the enumerated powers clause of the Constitution of Article 1, Section 8. There are only 17 things that the federal government is authorized to do, and when I examined all the programs that the government administers, and there are more than 1,000 of them, I eliminated more than half of them as being unconstitutional. And what I figured out is that including defense and all the other categories of programs that the government can enact, I can probably fund a fully constitutional federal government for about $1.5 trillion. So the issue is, let's not create revenues to support a bloated government. Let's reduce government down to its constitutional size, and then raise the necessary taxes to fund that.
All right, so you're going back to something you said earlier, Bob, and that is the Proclamation of Freedom, which sets in motion what you're calling the 21st Century American Revolution, which is basically a tax revolt, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. By the way, before we run out of time here, where can people learn more about you and the party and what you're doing here? You have a website?
They can go to the website. It's AmericanCitizenParty.us.
Okay.
And you can read the platform. You can read about me. I have a little biography section there, and you can find out everything you need to know about this new revolutionary plan.
How would you address the war on terror?
Well, that's a difficult one. I think if we focus on the things that are direct national security threats to the United States of America, I believe we can address that pretty quickly. As a former Marine, I learned one thing, is that if you're going to go to battle, you want to go to battle with the intent to win, and that is to put all your forces and everything that there is at our disposal to win that battle and to get out of it. We've now been involved in the war on terror now for well over a decade, and people still want to blow us up. I don't know how you address an enemy who is driven by their belief that their God tells them to kill everyone who doesn't believe as they do. Thomas Jefferson, as I recall, encountered this way back in the beginning of our country when he went to visit the Barbary Pirates.
All right.
Negotiate with them.
I got about a minute left here, Bob. I want to ask you, again, we're talking to Bob McNeil. He's the founder of the American Citizens Party, and you can go to americancitizensparty.us and check out the party and his candidacy for president in 2016. Religious freedom seems to be under attack in America. What would you do as president?
Well, the Constitution is very clear that Congress shall pass no law establishing religion, nor shall it interfere with the free exercise thereof.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe in God, and He's a force in my everyday life, and I support anyone's right to exercise their religious freedom and to worship any way that they choose. I even support the right of people not to believe in anything at all. I mean, that's really what our founders intended.
Okay.
But I don't believe there needs to be a religious war in this country. I believe really everyone should really just believe in something. I've always said that I don't care if you dance around a fire under a full moon, as long as you believe in something greater than yourself.
There you go.
And that's sort of how I characterize religion or spirituality.
All right, thank you, Bob, for your time, and look forward to having you back as things heat up towards 2016. And again, AmericanCitizensParty.us, Bob McNeil. Thanks, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
All right, we're back, and Bud and Kevin in the studio with us today, and Bud heads up, of course, Youth for Christ, and Kevin has Hearts with a Mission, and next Tuesday is going to be a special day here on the Dove Radio and TV. We are going to do, we've never done one before, a window and door-a-thon. And this is all to help the City Life Project, which has been under construction for how long, guys?
Let's see, we broke ground in March.
Yeah, sounds like that.
But the planning and everything's been a couple of years.
Oh yeah, a year and a half.
And a part of all of this is these two ministries are actually collaborating, coming together, which is a unique thing. And this building is going to not only house the administration of both ministries on separate areas, but provide another service downstairs. And what is that, or upstairs, wherever you're going to be, but for the kids, what are you guys doing?
The main part of the ministry is a City Life ministry model that Youth for Christ International, Youth for Christ USA has as a core ministry. It's basically neighborhood-based, not school-based, and so it's really us reaching into the lives of the families in that downtown urban area. A main part of that is focusing on indigenous leaders and developing those kids to grow up and pour back into their community. So yeah, that's the core of it, but all of that done through authentic relationships, connecting adults with kids.
And that's next door to Hearts with a Mission.
Yeah, and Hearts with a Mission's part of it is that we've just kind of really expanded our services to the point that we need counseling offices, we need a place where we can do parenting classes, because what we've really discovered is that if you really want to help a youth, you need to help the entire family.
Right.
And so hopefully we know this is going to now give us the space that we need.
Now, I want to say to our viewers and listeners, the building's up out of the ground, it's framed, and you're to the window and door stage.
Correct.
And you've had a very generous person say, you get the windows and door and I'll install them free. It's a professional installer, right? So you're at that stage.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And so what we're going to do, folks, is it citylife.org?
CityLifeProject.org.
Okay, CityLifeProject.org. You can see a list of doors and windows there that you guys have put together. I think 30 windows, Kevin, you had counted up?
Yep.
You ran out of fingers, but you still came up
I
with
did.
it. Okay.
I got there.
And a bunch of doors.
Yes.
And some windows are like $110, some windows are $98, some doors are $600. Whatever the Lord's leading you to do, we want to, next Tuesday, we're going to take that day and ask you to pray and call a certain number to these two gentlemen's offices and buy a window and buy a door. It's as simple as that. And that's going to give you guys the next level of boost in this project, right?
It will.
Absolutely.
And so you're real close. You got is there roof on?
The sheeting is done on the roof. So
really?
Yeah, it's all framed in pretty much. So
I can't tell you what this really means to Southern Oregon. Now, you both of you guys are so involved with young people's lives. I get some of the emails. I talk to Patrick. I talk to you guys individually. And it takes a special heart and a special life to reach out to kids you know nothing about other than they're hurting and minister to them. And you know what? This isn't in the shadows anymore. This is mainline Medford, really. I mean, I am surprised how many kids, I guess we could put them in the homeless category, certainly the broken home category or the messed up category.
Oh, they're abandoned. I mean,
yeah, that's the best way of putting it.
Yeah, whether they're in a home or outside of a home. I mean, you know, we see actually. You had a show on talking about a Facebook post about a girl that's just sitting there saying, I have nobody and I'm no good at anything, and you know, she's completely left alone. And that is so prevalent in our county. I mean, it's just kid after kid after kid that we run into. Statistics show in our school districts that 50% of the kids in our districts can't identify one adult that they would go to with a problem.
That is staggering, and it's epidemic.
Epidemic.
And Kevin, Hearts with a Mission started out with providing a shelter because you got moved by the Lord. Kids were couch hopping, literally living under the bridge, and here comes Hearts with a Mission. And then you found out that it's more than that.
Oh, absolutely. I think what it is that, you know, you really have to develop that heart that God has, that, you know, it hurts. You know, that you have to get down to the level. You know, I was talking to you yesterday, you know, when a kid tells you nobody cares.
What do you do? I mean, that hurts.
It does.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to be the church to say, we care.
Okay. And so what the City Life Project Center does is brings what you do, Bud, on campuses, what you do in homes, but it creates a common ministry center that's outside the defines of everything else. It's kind of isolated unto itself, and there's nobody looking over the top. You say, you can't do this, you can't do that. You guys can do total ministry there, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, no matter where you are, there's no laws against relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We want to bring... we believe that, you know, the kids we run into in juvenile detention, the kids that are in our Teen Moms program, you know, we believe if somebody had been there earlier in that kid's life, reaching out to them when they're playing on the playground and you know, before the age of adolescence, you know, we believe an authentic, caring adult can impact and transition that life to something so much more safe and productive.
Well, I can't tell you, folks, how important this center is, and it's a vision that has been in the making for a long time, and I think God-given, because when I've watched Bud and Kevin say, hey, wait a minute, we need to come together so that no kid falls through the cracks. I commended their efforts in collaborating together, and I think this is creating a model in more ways than one. But now the City Life project is no longer something on a piece of paper. It's no longer an idea. It's none of that. It's literally coming up out of the ground. It's framed. It's got the sheeting on the roof. We're to the window and door stage, and they've had a very generous person come up and say, look, you get the windows and doors, I'll install them for you free. So we're going to ask you to buy a window and buy a door. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think we have 30 windows, range from $98 to $150 or something like that. I'm just going off the top of my mind. And then you have a bunch of doors, and these are special doors because in a public building like that, you have to have certain certified doors. I guess, I don't know, they solid core, framed, I don't know all that stuff. I'm no contractor.
Yeah, don't look to me.
You know, all I know is that they meet the code, and they're $600, so maybe you can buy a door or two. We can knock this out real fast, and we have set next Tuesday aside here on the Dove to ask you to buy a door or buy a window. So be praying about it between now and next Tuesday. Can they go to the CityLifeProject.org now,
right
and see the list,
yeah,
right?
So
if you don't want to wait till Tuesday, go there and look at it right now. And start buying a door and a window. And are they ordered yet? Have you done that by faith, or are you waiting for the...
No, I think we're waiting.
Are you waiting? Okay. And once they're delivered, then they're installed.
Yeah.
And then then you move on to insulation, sheetrock, and all that.
Yeah,
but this is a big thing, and I really think that we can help. You know, when I looked at where you guys were going, where you were building Hearts with a Mission, when I saw you buy that house, I go, oh, Kevin, what'd you do? I mean, this house, did you save anything?
No. 2 boards, I think.
Really 2 boards. I thought you bought the most dilapidated.
In your room.
Oh, it was a mess, and turned it into an incredible ministry center for homeless children right across the street from Kids Unlimited, which in itself I think is strategic. Mm-hmm. And then God made available next door to that the property for you to build the City Life Project. And you've been in temporary offices, right,
Yes,
Bud?
we have, yeah.
So you guys are going to combine your offices, which is going to be probably very efficient.
Yeah, we are working now on figuring out how to streamline some of those expenses, you know, copiers and internet service and all that. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. And then a big portion of this, and the main portion of this, is ministry, because the way you're licensed, you can't really do... I say ministry, you are doing ministry, but you can't really do the witnessing part of that. And you can move them next door to do that. Is that kind of right? I mean, is a little bit
the thing is that you just can't require them to have to sit and listen to you talk about
the Lord.
Yeah, to stay there.
Okay.
They can ask us as far as, you know, why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
And we can explain it to them. We can actually pray with kids. We can pray with families.
Great. All right.
Just not a condition of them staying there.
All right.
But it's the relationships that they can build at City Life that they can be maintained for, you know, the long term. So.
It's just so neat. All right, so window and door-a-thon. We've never done one at the Dove, but we're about ready to do one. It's going to be next Tuesday, and we're going to do it during the morning show. But in the meantime, if you feel led to get involved now, go to citylifeproject.org. And it'll come up and it'll show you the list of windows. There's 30 of them we have to buy. And I forget how many doors.
I forget as well.
I think there's 25 doors or something like that. And you can buy a window as low as $98 up to about $150 a door, around $6. Listen, if you can't buy a whole window, give something. $5 or $10, and it goes towards a window or a door. And we need to take care of this part. This is kind of a key point in the construction. We can get the windows and doors paid for, then everything else kind of stays on target. Do you have a target date, you guys?
Sometime in latter part of November, and it's got to be fairly close to that because our lease runs up, you know, not too long after. So we might be camping out in his backyard.
I would say come over here, but you'd have to sit on Steve's lap because we haven't got room.
Come on, you have so much room.
yeah, we're a size 12 and an 8 shoe. So anyway, let's do this, folks. Pray about it. Would you ask the Lord what He'd have you to do? Maybe you could partner with some friends in your church or maybe in your family. 4 or 5 of you go together and buy a door, or 3 or 4 of you go together and buy a window. Whatever the Lord's leading you to do, why don't you go to citylifeproject.org right now, look at the list of doors and windows, and say, all right, Lord, which one do you want us to buy? And by the way, are they writing the check out to City Life? Is that what happens? Or YFC?
Either YFC or Hearts with a Mission.
Okay, and it goes to their construction fund. That's a reserve fund, and then goes right to that. So, and it's all tax deductible. Well, guys, I'm excited. I am honored that you've allowed us to come alongside and help you guys. And let's see if we can get this knocked out next Tuesday, huh?
Yep. Yes.
All right, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Perry.
Thanks, Perry.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Well, welcome back, and our next guest, we've had him before and on several occasions, and quite frankly, it is an honor to get him because he is so wanted in the media, and his name is Dr. Jerome Corsi. He's a senior staff reporter for online news there at the giant WorldNetDaily. He's the author of the #1 New York best-selling, non-fiction best-selling book, Unfit for Command. Of course, the Swiftboat veterans speak out against John Kerry, and he also authored The Obama Nation, Leftist Politics and the Cult of Personality. Well, his latest book is entitled What Went Wrong? And the inside story of the GOP of 2012 and how it can be avoided the next time. And Dr. Corsi has well researched this, and he comes with incredible credentials as well. And as soon as we get the Skype hooked up here, we'll bring him in here in just a second. For those who are interested in getting the book, check it out. It's put out by WorldNetDaily Books, and you can check that out at WND Books, or check it out Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and get a copy of it called What Went Wrong? The Inside Story of the GOP Debacle of 2012. Dr. Corsi, thank you, my friend. Nice to have you back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm here at the National Archives in College Park. So I'm researching on another book, so, you know, I'm delighted to speak with you about this one. I hope the reception's okay.
Yeah, you're doing great. Thank you so much. I really value our time together and your wisdom in all of this. I'm glad you finally wrote the book because from what I tell, and I haven't gotten all the way through yet, but for what I have quickly observed, you really did uncover the problem of 2012 and what went wrong. I don't know, quite frankly, if the GOP is going to pay any attention to this. I hope they do. But in essence, what do you think the big problem was with the GOP in 2012?
Well, there's several. As I point out in the book, the first recognition, the Obama people won the election. I mean, there's a lot of people want to excuse it to voter fraud, and I discuss voter fraud did happen. And you've got to realize on the last day of the campaign, I was with Romney for 3 weeks as traveling press. We're flying back to Boston, and Romney comes back to the press section in the airplane. And he said he thought he was going to win. And he had not even written an acceptance or a concession speech because he figured he wasn't going to need one. Well, I talked to Stuart Stevens, who is one of the top advisors on the airplane, and, you know, the top advisor, strategist for the campaign. Stevens said, well, a good message beats a ground game every time. And I thought, no. I said, you know, you guys don't understand. The Republican Party doesn't understand that with Obama, you're dealing with a game changer. This is a whole new kind of presidential politics we've never seen in this country. That's going to be a major recognition of a difference. Now, unless people realize that, you're not going to win elections. That's the problem. You've got to realize that these people, the Republicans, are up against some very, very tough, some very sophisticated, some very good opposition. Now, I'm going to have to do one thing really quickly here. I'm going to have to run and get my adapter because I'm running out of batteries. So I have to put this down for 2 minutes, run in and get it. It's at the archive. I'll be right back.
Well, that tells you how live we are today. You know, I think there's another part to this equation, too, that is so interesting. Most research will tell you, and I think even Dr. Corsi will agree with this, some of the battles of 2012 were clearly generational as it relates to digital technology. I want to get into that. As you know, the Obama team was well plugged into social media, well plugged into the digital technology of cell phones and tablets, which played a huge part on getting their message out and getting their out-to-vote turnout. And they were well plugged into that. The other part is that I think that Dr. Corsi points out in his book is that the Republican establishment, and let me speak to this as clearly as I can as former chairman of the Oregon Republican Party. I was chairman of the Oregon Republican Party statewide for 4 years. I learned some things, a lot of things. And I did realize quickly that there is an old guard Republican establishment that is somewhat at odds with a more conservative-based establishment within the field and within the system. And they clash. And there's a biblical principle here that says a house divided against itself cannot stand. And I think that clash very much still exists today. And so I want to talk to Dr. Corsi about that as well. But I think that part of this defeat, if we can put it that way, and it clearly was a generational ability to communicate to younger people as well. You're back. Do we have you plugged in yet?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I am all set now. I had to get the, I had to run in and get my adapter, or the computer was going to run out of the battery.
This is authentic television, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Corsi. All right, I want to come back to one thing I was just talking while you ran away there for a few moments. How much of this difference in the game changer was generational? In other words, Obama seemed to tap into social media, the digital technology, and get his message out, and versus Romney, which was kind of maybe caught up in the mire of the Republican establishment. How much of this was generational?
I think a great deal of it. I think you're dealing with, people want to brush off Obama, want to say that Obama is, a fluke, or Obama's the future of politics. You've got a celebrity in Obama who knows how to be a celebrity, but the people behind him, I'm a professional political scientist. I have a PhD from Harvard in political science. I've studied voting behavior for decades. These advisors, communications advisors, political science, computer intelligence guys, they're very smart, they're very well funded, they're very young, and they know what they're doing. And they've changed the game. A couple different ways. I'm going to start out here. When Obama talked to you as a potential voter, given the ability to run massive data sets and micro-target, in other words, the Obama people could figure out who you were from your credit card receipts and your social networking or any data they can get on you. When they sent you an email, the email felt like they were communicating with you personally. Mm-hmm. They knew the message was tailored. And you were involved. Now, when Romney communicated with voters, it was just the usual old stuff you threw away in the wastebasket because there was no personalization to it.
Oh, boy.
And by personalization, I meant, okay, if you were a single woman, you got the message about reproductive rights. You got talked about your situation. If you were a young student coming out of college, you got talked to about jobs. You got talked to about your education. Obama made you feel like he understood your problems, even if it was someone in Chicago writing that letter. Had profiled you, had run statistical tests on which letter and which phrasing gets more response. And when they were in the field getting the vote out, you had not just go get the vote, but you had somebody show up at your door with an iPad interviewing you for Obama, taking all this information in and being able to record your responses into a database.
Wow.
I mean, that was not being done by the Romney people.
Let me take a quick break. Let me take a quick break here, Dr. Corsi. Sorry to do that, but when we come back, you're hitting on the very thing that I want to talk about, because we've learned through generational science here in media research, one thing that the Democrats do very well, and we media people need to understand as well as the GOP, you got to go through the heart to get to the head. You can't go through the head to get to the heart. And the Democrats have that down really good. And I want you to comment on that when we come back.
I will.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and really honored to have back with us today Dr. Jerome Corsi. He's authored his new book, What Went Wrong? The Inside Story of the GOP Debacle of 2012 and How It Can Be Avoided Next Time. Let me tell you, this book He's written a lot of books, but for this one has really piqued my personal interest because we do a lot of research on generational science and neural marketing here at the Dove, both radio and television. And I think he has hit the nail right on the head when it comes to understanding how to engage people emotionally and what went wrong. And Dr. Corsi, as we broke away, I asked you the question, or at least made the comment, that it appears that one thing that the liberals have down very, very well is the ability to connect first through the heart to engage the brain, while the Republicans think by engaging the brain they'll engage the heart. And nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I mean, the emotional appeal of what the Democrats are doing, of course, it's predicated on knowing who you are. Now, there has to be a lot of research into understanding that you communicate with someone who is a single woman with children very differently than a college student, very differently than African American or Hispanic. And the Democrats have put a lot of research, a lot of social science, psychological research and understanding these groups, and then patterning them. I mean, most people don't understand. These are the same people who are doing the National Security Administration, you know, who are recording every car, every license plate in America into a micro database. You've got top experts from Google, Silicon Valley, and the Republican Party will make a mistake to think this is just a bunch of geeks. These are, you know, very well funded, backed by people who are billionaires. They have all the money they need. With the computer technology and ability to utilize intelligent systems. See, it's not just running a computer. It's the ability to use a computer to do predictions, to understand how someone thinks, to get inside their head. And the Democrats are able to do that. And this transforms the politics, because you take the Franklin Roosevelt interest group era politics, you take the same approach, interest group politics, but you apply it with new age technology and communications ability. And I want to point out something. For instance, right now today, Obama's race baiting on Trayvon Martin.
Right.
Okay, now, Eric Holder knows there's no chance that they can do a civil rights prosecution. The law is not written for. They have to prove. They have to prove racial malice, and they're not. Zimmerman should have gotten off, but that's not why Obama's doing this. Obama's doing this to rile up his base. He's doing this to get the African Americans in the streets, to make them feel he understands them, that he communicates with them. It's a psychological technique. Truthfully, Obama's delivered very little to African Americans. You know, there's highest unemployment ever among blacks. Take a look at Detroit, it's bankrupt. The record of the administration is dismal. But you've got 96% of all the blacks voting for Obama. And it's on identity politics and interest group politics. And it keys on the ability for African Americans to say, Barack Obama's one of me. I'm the same as him.
Right. Yeah, I think you said that very, very well. Let me ask you this, moving this along quickly here before we run out of time. Do you, anywhere along the line, since you were in the back of the plane with Romney, did they begin to sense that their messaging was falling short?
Well, it's, you know, you get on the campaign airplane and you're, first of all, in a bubble. You're following the campaign around. You're watching the big crowds. You're listening to what they're saying. And the campaign today isn't where the action is. You know, Romney had great crowds, but he had them in rural Ohio. Well, he was going to get the voters there. Where the Democrats said, okay, to win Ohio, we need 50,000 more African-American votes in Cuyahoga County. And we can get them by voter fraud. We can get them by busing these people in. We can get them by really finding 50,000 more that want to go vote for Obama. So they had a whole army of people. They weren't spending any time out, you know, in Zanesville in Ohio and the rural areas. They were in Columbus. They were in Cincinnati, the Obama people, targeting the voters they needed and going after them. They played this by the numbers. Obama knew he needed about 8 states. The swing states, he won 7 of them, and he did it the same each way. Florida, they knew they needed 50,000 more voters out of Dade County, out of Broward County, and out of the panhandle of the state. And they figured out how to get them. It's a numbers game played by very sophisticated people who know interest group politics.
Can the conservatives win against this emotional tsunami when those messages don't necessarily seem to hit the heart? In other words, it appears that what the liberals have done by not only having all of these entitlement programs and what the government can do for you, the pushback from the conservative base, which happened in 2010, we saw it with the turnover there in the House of Representatives. But is that good enough? I mean, what can the GOP do, especially if the establishment, those who are now still running the party, are of the old school?
Well, first of all, I dedicated the book to Phyllis Schlafly. And Phyllis wrote a book in the 60s, A Choice, Not an Echo.
Right.
Because you had then the Rockefeller wing of the Republican Party was pushing the Republicans to the center. First point I want to make is a Me Too Republican isn't going to win.
Right.
The people who stayed home were not the evangelicals. They voted for Romney. It was the conservatives, the Tea Party groups, who said, what's the difference between Romney and Obama? So first of all, we got to get a real conservative. And secondly, one with the conviction, to know what the Democrats are doing. Democrats framed Romney, psychological technique. They said he was Bain Capital, he fired workers, he stripped companies, he made money. And Romney let them do that. Day one, Democrats start running those commercials. Romney's got to say, you're lying. He's got to get out and say, that's not the truth. This is what I did. I created jobs. He's got to say, any place they run these ads, I'm going to sue them. Identity politics. Okay, single women. Got to have straight talk. You say, wait a minute, we care about reproductive rights. What are you guys talking about? An 18-cent condom? You want public welfare to give you an 18-cent condom? So that's not what this is about. This is about responsibility. It's about bringing children in the world, the rights of the unborn, and the rights of the mother. Besides, these interest groups are going to fight with each other. It happened in the 60s. The jobs that the Hispanics think they're going to get undermine the jobs that African Americans and other low-income workers want. Pretty soon you begin to have the groups fighting amongst each other. Politics where you promise, I'm going to give everything to you because you're black or because you're Hispanic, only works so long. After a while, those promises are empty and you run out of money. Mm-hmm. And the Republicans got to be ready to pounce on that. Say, independence does not mean your government check. Add up all your government checks together. You're selling yourself out for $50,000 a year. Is that what you really want to do with your future? No job, no family, no children, drugs, and a government check. Is that your life?
How much was Romney managed by the establishment versus his own in running himself as an individual and a successful businessman?
Romney listened to his advisors. His advisors were all centrists. Stuart Stevens, he did what they told him. Figured they knew what they were doing. Karl Rove ought to be parked. The time's past Karl Rove. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. Mm-hmm. He didn't elect a single candidate. He's just getting rich now. Time to unplug Karl Rove. Bad advice. The Republican Party moving to the center. Look, Marco Rubio's just destroyed his career. Why? Because he pandered to Hispanics.
I was just going to ask you that. Is Marco Rubio done? Did he shoot himself in the foot or a vital organ?
I think he shot himself in the head.
Yeah.
I think he's had it. He'll never recover from this. Because he pandered. You can't pander. If you're the Democrats, you can say, look, I'll give you all these benefits. I'll make sure you get them. It works for a while. Pretty soon, people take a look at what they're getting, and you're saying this $18 Obama phone is the reason I voted for the guy? Well, they just unplugged my Obama phone. They just unplugged my food stamp program.
Yeah.
You really want to live on food stamps the rest of your life? I mean, is that your highest aspiration? We've got to begin to talk to people like this, because certainly the new generation, kids who are finished college with all these student loans, don't want to be heard that their future is food stamps and Obama phones.
It appears that the Obama administration, at least within the last year or so, with all the debacles that are going on, especially with the IRS now, Benghazi, and with the Department of Justice, I mean, the list just is endless, that they're handing the GOP the perfect narrative. But can we trust the GOP to manage it?
Fighting with the GOP is like fighting with a one-armed guy, and that one arm's tied behind his back. I mean, these GOP guys don't fight back. What Obama's doing in race baiting Trayvon Martin is not only whipping up his base, he's taking all these stories off the news. Yeah. And don't think for a minute the White House doesn't know what it's doing. White House is managing the news. They're playing the mainstream media like a fiddle. They know exactly how to get them whipped up. Trayvon Martin and all this race whooping is not by accident. Under Obama, we've got the most divisive society we've ever had. I point that out in what went wrong. When you get to the end of the book, I start talking about how all these different interest groups fight against each other.
Right.
You're a kid coming out of college. You think your parents who are, baby boomers in their retirement are going to want you back home? How's anybody going to pay for anybody? And that's the issue. If the baby boomers are on Social Security, dependent on that, and the kids don't have jobs coming out of schools, somebody has got to stand up and say, this is a Democratic formula. They're trying to make you dependent in order to get your votes.
Well, Dr. Corsi, you're a delight and an inspiration. Thank you for writing the book. It's called What Went Wrong, the inside story of the GOP debacle of 2012. Check it out either with WorldNetDaily or Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Let's stay in touch. I really value our time together. And thank you for dedicating the book to Phyllis. She is an inspiration of herself, and I appreciate it. God bless you, my friend. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for putting up with all the technical
problems. Oh, don't worry about it.
Getting...
That's live television, pal. Talk to you soon. Okay. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.